listening to The Breakfast Show on Faith FM with myself, Skafy, and Lawson. We have been talking about students feeling that they're being persecuted in universities.
Yeah.
We spoke about durian. We spoke about the life of Samson. And we just saw like the most amazing gift ideas you can give on to someone in need this Christmas. With AsianAid, asianaid.org.au/gifts.
That's so awesome. I love, going through the gift lists that they have there on the website. I love how, there is this aspect of like fun and, children, but then also there's this aspect of practicality that comes with the gifts as well, to actually better the lives of people. I get it. Like, kids should be able to enjoy
project.
Yeah.
Where they have, instead of a daycare, a night care. Because a lot of moms in situation of extreme poverty, they see themselves with no other options other than to sell their own bodies. And often they will take their children along with them. And that's such a risky and dangerous, even traumatic thing. So they came up with this scenario where that at least the children can be safe during those times here. And for $55, you can provide safety and comfort for a child in a very, very extremely vulnerable situation for one entire month. Why just give 1 month? For $500, you can give almost an entire year.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, support the cause. Jump on asianaid.org.au. We need a quiz question, please. Sandy.
Is this statement from the Bible or not?
Oh, I love this. All right.
Bible or
not. Get ready, everyone.
The eyes are the mirror of the soul. Oh. Is it from the Bible or not? The eyes are the mirror of the soul. Tell us what you think. 0491064669. The eyes are the mirror of the soul. Is it from the Bible or not? Both of the guys in studio have their correct answers. Send yours into 0491064669.
I was about to go one way and then I went a different way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not even, budge.
You knew straight away?
Straight away.
Yeah. Well, look, what I had to think about is, what does the Bible say about your eyes? And does it say that they're a mirror to the soul? If you think so, well, send through Bible to 0491064669. And if you don't think it is, then you can send through not the Bible to 0491064669. Hey, just want to give a shout out to all the people listening this morning as well that have been struggling with some of the static noise coming through. We've just shifted and adjusted our studio in preparation to actually get cameras and whatnot in here. So we are just letting you know that we hear you loud and clear. We see you on the text line. We're making some efforts to try to lessen that and mitigate that as much as possible.
Some growing pains here.
Yeah.
Some teething issues that we're having with our new studio, but we are going to get that sorted. So if you do hear some crackling noises in the background, is because of that, not because Lawson is deep frying some durian here live on the studio.
Yeah, that would be crazy. That would be awesome. And to be in here, flipping durian. I wonder how durian smells cooked. Is that one of those things? Well, that being said, we smelt it dried in that car story I was telling earlier, and it was disgusting.
I'm just thinking, man, imagine opening up one of these packages in a fully loaded bus. Like, when you're like in such a fully loaded bus that you cannot even like move put your hands down or something. It's after a rush hour, 6 p.m. Like there's not even 1 inch between you and the 5 people around you, let alone the other 60 people in that bus. And then someone opens the Ziploc bag.
Packet of durian. Boom.
Nobody has anywhere to run.
Boom.
The thing is, you don't even have anywhere to run from it. You're just like, you're a captive audience.
Yeah. That's like a ultimate prank right there. Like we should set up cameras on a bus and be like, opening durian.
Well, depending on the country, you can get fined. You can get fined. I don't think that they have these laws in Australia, though.
Yeah.
So I think you could get away with it.
Dude, if someone tries to kick you off the bus for eating durian, you can just you can just claim that they're being like culturally, insensitive and discriminating against you. Like, hey, this is my culture.
I'm thinking here. I think that the transportation mode that I caught here in Australia that was the crowdest was the trams, like the tram in Sydney and the tram in Canberra, depending on the day and the time.
Yeah.
They can be really crowded. And I'm thinking here, man, would it be good publicity for Faith FM if we...
Probably not.
If we go there with a Faith FM shirt and then you open the durian package.
Durian packages and become
then you
a public
close on and
nuisance.
say, hey, if you'd like to get a special show on durian, you can
listen to the breakfast show.
podcast. Yes.
That's guerrilla marketing right there. Now that sounds like a very like a Hamish and Andy kind of thing, and I don't know if we have that level of social clout. I don't know if we're funny enough to get away with doing something so publicly annoying. So maybe not. Maybe there's not that's not our move. But I will, I suggested early in the show, maybe Skafy and I should make a Christmas album. I think that's probably our step, in terms of to increase our clout, to get our name out there. Maybe the Christmas album would be the thing that would win people over.
And you know when we could release that album?
When?
Durian Christmas period.
Okay, so hey, we have a Bible study.
Come on now. Come on now. I have to keep my emeritus participant of the Dad Jokes Society
For sure.
of New South Wales. So
For sure. I wish we had the sound effects like on the table with us. It's behind the glass screen. It's got with producer Shah. I wish I could click the cricket button, like, oh man, that was lame. Hey, you're listening to The Breakfast Show here on Faith FM. We have been talking about one of the great figures of the past, that being the man Joshua, who, does amazing things. And we particularly explored yesterday, while you went out to become an Australian, we were exploring how Joshua is like Jesus and how Jesus is like Joshua. And we had a bit of a conversation there. We're going through the book of Hebrews, and we were seeing that it's really interesting passage there, because it essentially says that the people, through the process of Moses taking them out of captivity and then Joshua taking them into the promised land, that they still didn't get to experience true spiritual peace and rest. And the reason was because of their rebelliousness and their hardness of heart. And that ultimately Jesus fulfills that position of the Joshua and of the Moses. How so? Well, he offers a true rest that comes in a relationship and obedience to him.
Wow, I love it. I never really connected that idea of the rest that Jesus gives, because he says, look, come unto me, all of you who are weary and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Because the conquest of Canaan is also alluded to in the Old Testament as, this is my rest. God says that you're not going to enter into my rest.
Yes.
So that promised land has that idea of rest.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And they only got it partially.
And we see there as well, when Hebrews chapter 3, it quotes from the Old Testament for the author of Hebrews to make this point that, hey, you need to enter in a true rest that's given to you by Jesus. It's not quoting from the book of Joshua nor the Torah. It's actually quoting from the Psalms. And it's like, oh, that's very interesting. We also see that David was a figure that tried to enable this to happen for the Israelites as well. And that's why he's writing Psalm 95. Like, he's writing it to say, hey, we didn't get it with Moses. We didn't get it with Joshua. Now they've come under King David, and we see that, through David and particularly his son Solomon, that, Israel is able to experience a golden age of success. And David constantly and consistently, I think of Psalm 119, he ascribes that to, hey, our faithfulness to God leads to his blessings. Like, he has given us all of these blessings and all of these potential for blessings through grace. Now we need to respond in faith, and through that partnership, through that commission, that co-work that God has us do with him, then we can experience eventually that rest. So David is then using the example of Joshua to advocate for it in his time, yet they still failed, right? And you can even say not only because of the people's unfaithfulness, but because of David himself, his own unfaithfulness. David himself learns the lesson of, hey, our unfaithfulness leads to our perpetual suffering and lack of peace and lack of rest. But there's a figure, a new leader who doesn't sin, who doesn't lead people astray. His name is Jesus.
And the cool thing about Jesus is that, well, Joshua was trying to get people into a period of rest by conquering the land.
Sure.
By giving them a place of peace, basically a place with no enemies. This is why God asked the Israelites to remove from the land the most belligerent people groups there.
Yeah.
The Amorites, the Kenizzites, the seven tribes. Because there were other tribes living there. The Gibeonites being one of them. And God never said anything in regards to removing them from the land.
Yeah.
So Joshua wanted to give people peace by getting them into a land, into a country with no opposition.
Yeah.
Whereas Jesus, he says, my peace I give unto you, not like the world gives unto you. Because in this world, you have trouble. So Jesus takes it to the next level.
Yes.
And said, yes, I am going to give you that kind of peace, all right? In the kingdom of God, when heaven comes, you will be able to live for eternity without a single ounce of opposition.
Yeah.
That's totally going to happen. That's coming. But even while that doesn't come, in this world, you are going to have a lot of opposition, a lot of trouble. And even then, I'm going to be able to give you a rest and a peace that surpasses all understanding, which is quite amazing, because when you look at the story of Israel, Joshua took the people to the promised land, and the people only had rest for certain periods of time. Mm-hmm. We're looking at the story of Samson today. People had rest for like 20 years. And often they'll have like rest for like 30 years, 40 years, and then they will fall into slavery
another
again.
Sin that leads them.
Yeah.
There's another era of disobedience. Yeah.
Where Jesus, even though we're living in a world that is increasing its levels of unrest, yet Jesus is able to give us the ultimate peace and the ultimate rest. So Jesus, that's why he's the ultimate peace giver.
Absolutely. We even spoke to in that particular passage in Hebrews as well, because sometimes that passage is used to share an idea that, hey, Jesus is true rest, therefore we don't need to keep the Sabbath. Because it mentions the Sabbath and it says, oh, hey, in one place it says that, of the seventh day, and God rested on the seventh day from all his works. And again, in this place, they shall not enter my rest. And people say, oh, so if Jesus is our true rest, then basically what they say is it's giving the Sabbath as an example of something else. Just like Joshua and Moses didn't give true rest, the Sabbath also didn't give true rest, so therefore we don't need to keep the Sabbath. Like, that's the final point. But it's interesting, it says here, in verse 7, it says,
so where are we?
In verse
Hebrews
6, I'm reading
4?
in Hebrews chapter 4 here now, in verse 6, it says, since therefore it remains that some must enter it, and those to whom it was first preached did not enter because of disobedience, again, he designates a certain day, saying to David, today, such a long time, after such a long time as it has been said. And so essentially what it's saying here is, hey, because of disobedience, they didn't enter the rest. And so then there must be a day coming where they didn't enter the rest. They didn't even enter the rest when there was a specific day of rest given. But again, Skafy, why did they not enter the rest even when there was a specific day of rest given? Every 7 days? And the answer is clear from the text. It says, because of disobedience. Essentially what the Bible is saying here is, hey, there will come a time, though, in which under Jesus, empowered by the Holy Spirit, people who are following Jesus, unlike the constant and consistent example of the Israelites, they will enter rest through their obedience to Jesus, their love for God, and they're responding to the incredible grace that God has extended and afforded them. There will one day be a people that see God's grace and they'll say, you know what, God, yep, I want to accept. Up until this point, it's been consistently groups of people that have faced subjugation to other nations and conflict and war, and the reason is because they were consistently disobedient. Like, this is what's happened to them, and so God couldn't provide them that rest. So this isn't what essentially the point I'm trying to make is that this isn't an admonishing of the Sabbath of, oh no, this is actually bad and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't be a part of this, but rather it's saying, hey, no, you'll get to actually experience a good Sabbath, a true rest, in harmony with God, as a result of actually choosing to be obedient, letting God work in your life. And I love how Hebrews chapter 4 finishes, how it just starts to make the point. It's like, hey, and we made this point yesterday. So we're doing a bit of a recap here, but made this point yesterday that ultimately it was, how do we get to experience that rest? What prompts us to obedience with God? Firstly, it goes into the word of God, having the ability to, discern, to divide to the joints and the marrow. The word of God and its influence of our life is something that enables us to live in obedience and connection and harmony with God. And then secondly, and finally, it points to Jesus. And it says, hey, we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but was always tempted as we are, yet without sin. Jesus is compassionate to us. Why? Because he's our high priest.
Which is quite an amazing thing, because I remember studying the Bible once with a person. Mm-hmm. It was my wife and I at the time. We were studying the Bible with this friend of ours, and she had a very difficult lifestyle. She worked as a prostitute at the time, and she was trying to get away from that. And God allowed us to minister to her and to help her in her journey. And one of the things that I remember her saying, it was that, look, it was easy for Jesus. I don't think that God can really relate to my temptations here. It's very different. And what the Bible is saying here said, no, actually, because Jesus experienced temptation in every single point.
Yeah.
But he was without sin. He can understand. He can understand the difficulties and the temptations that you're having there. And that came to her as very relief. It's like, what? Really? Can Jesus really understand what I'm going through? Says, yeah, this is what the Bible says. And she was like, oh, wow. Because she thought of Jesus like, yeah, look, he cannot understand. He's a God. He doesn't suffer. He was never tempted. The Bible said, no, he was actually tempted. And that came up against that idea that, oh, no, God cannot be tempted because he has all powerful and so on. But Jesus gave up of all of his power while he was a human so that he could be tempted.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
Lawson, I've done a thing.
What?
And it has to do with durian. But I'll tell you after we get a new
Dude, you guys aren't in the studio right now. You're like crying right now. You're like crying, laughing. I have no idea what's up.
Look, today we're praying for Cebu City, sorry, which is a big city in the Philippines. And one of the things that Philippines really enjoy is
the fruit
durian. And we also happen to have in the beginning of this show a question about the plain of Jura.
Yeah.
So my brain has been infected with the durian theme this morning, so you have to bear with me because I Googled what does durian smell like, and then what does durian taste like, and I have some interesting responses to that, Lawson, that I can share with you and with our listening friend. But before we get there, I'm going to ask if producer Sandy has a new question for us.
I do, but how about I give you the answer to the one from previously?
Oh, yes. Please.
So the statement, the eyes are the mirror of the soul, is not found in the Bible. It is a proverb of uncertain origin. And we did have correct answers.
The eyes are the mirror of the soul.
Today.
You can look at someone's eyes and discern, like, hey, are you okay?
Yeah. I'm fine.
Right?
Thank you for asking.
Look, because initially I'm like, it's a pretty legit thing to say. Like
legit.
The eyes are the mirror of the soul, but the Bible says that the eyes are actually the light of the body.
Yeah.
And this is where I started to think. I'm like, hey, what is the Bible? Because I'm like, eyes are the mirror of the soul. That sounds pretty legit.
What about the eyes are the windows of the soul? Do you think that this one is in the Bible?
Is it? I don't know.
No, it's not.
I don't think so. I think it's pretty similar concept.
But it's biblical.
Yeah.
You know, what you watch through your eyes will end up
being
in your soul. In one way or the
beholding, we
other.
become changed.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
this is what Jesus said. Hey, if our eye is bad, then what's inside is going to be bad as well.
But there's the thing as well, because if your eye is bad, like meaning like if you have like astigmatism or myopia, in the Bible times, the mind, it was also referred to as the eye, because they just didn't have a word for mind as such, you know. So
Sure.
yeah. So if your eye is good, meaning if your mind is good, if your thoughts, your brain.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, got a text message on the text. Oh, well, before I should get into it, we should We should get another quiz question. Yeah. Go
Yes,
for it,
another
Sandy.
question. All right. In Malachi chapter 4, God promised that the coming prophet would turn the hearts from whom to whom and vice versa. In Malachi 4, God promised that the coming prophet would turn the hearts from whom to whom and vice versa. Lawson's on it, 0491064669. Skafy's got it as well. In Malachi 4, God promised that the coming prophet would turn the hearts from whom to whom and vice versa.
Yeah.
0491064669.
I have a nice interpretation of that one. And,
Oh, yeah?
An application you can say / interpretation. I'll give it to you, Lawson, when we discuss that one. Do we have anything in the text line going on?
We do. Sky wrote in and said, keep the dad jokes coming. I need more laughter. The unrehearsed laughs are the bomb. Have you guys seen that lady who has done her own version of Count Your Blessings? I can send it to you via Facebook messages. She's changed it to counting the fat calories. It's gold.
I haven't seen it. Please do send it to
I'm assuming it goes like, count your calories.
Count them one
Count that
by
one by one. Count your many calories and stop eating so much or something like that. I'm just going to
Speaking of calories, speaking of eating, speaking of the Philippines, all of these things are reminding me of just one thing, Lawson.
Yeah, durian.
Durian.
Well, so why were you like crying laughing?
Look,
in the
okay,
intro to this
I
segment?
asked Google, what does durian smell like? This is the answer that came to me. Durian has a strong, complex smell that is polarizing, often described as a mix of sweet and pungent scents. Common comparisons include rotten onions, sewage, gym socks, and turpentine, combined with sweeter notes of caramel, honey, or custard.
Yeah.
The potent aroma is due to a combination of sulfurous and sweet compounds, which people perceive differently depending on their sensitivity to the individual chemical. So imagine that you mix rotten onions, raw sewage, sweaty gym socks with caramel, honey, custard, and hints of raspberry.
Yummy.
And then you add a little bit of a nail polish remover, and there you go.
Boom. Yeah, dude, this is we should make our own durian compound. So we could use all of those ingredients to make like a durian perfume.
Oh, all right. Someone already done it. Not to do a durian perfume, but to do durian wafers. Would you like to hear the experience of one user on Reddit?
Yeah.
So this is what the user said. As a warning to anyone who might be thinking to try it, I just tried some quote-unquote durian-flavored cream wafers, and they smelled and tasted like how septic tanks smell. I flipped the package over because I could only just taste the wafer over the rankness, which is not how it was described in literature and on the internet. Never buying anything with, listen to this, artificial durian again. So the problem is the
It's got to be the real deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, bro, I can't handle it. I'm not about it. Hey, you're listening to the Breakfast Show here on Faith FM. Got a text message from Janelle. She says, loving the durian humor this morning, guys. I've never tried it, and I don't think I want to.
Look,
fair.
They say that the smell is bad, but the taste is better. So I was looking for one person that is describing, and he says, look is what they said here. I hated it the first time. Then I tried the fresh one during the season and got addicted. Different sorts have different texture, density, and tastes varies as well. So there's different kinds of durians.
Sure.
And he said, I prefer cold, semi-ripe fruits. Texture like jackfruit with mushy avocado inside. The taste is very rich and complex. Are you ready, Lawson? This is what the taste looks like according to one user. That hated it at first, but then got addicted. It's a mixture of jackfruit, pineapple, camembert, like the cheese, bit of marinated onion and garlic with a hint of tropical rot. And he says you get used to it quite fast. And some floral tones. Asians prefer super soft and ripe ones with intense yellow color. They are the creamiest, but the smell is more intense. It's important to eat within a few hours after cutting because the rotten smell intensifies with time. Overall, a rare experience.
Oh, dude. None of that sounds enticing. I like
Isn't
some
it
of those.
something-
I like
try.
some of those
I
ingredients.
would try.
Have you had it before?
No.
No, I have had it.
You've tried durian before?
Yeah,
Fresh
yeah.
or what?
I've had durian ice cream. I've tried fresh durian. I've
durian
tried
ice cream. How did
dried.
that go?
Like this is the thing is like
Frozen
as
sewage?
as good as it can taste, right? Like it was super sweet because it was like durian ice cream and they had like extra sugar. It's like a mid taste. It's like a mid taste with just the most rank smell ever. So I'm like, leave it, bro. Just leave it. Go eat a green apple or something.
Look, I want to try. If you don't know where to find the durian,
Oh, you'll be able to buy it in
recipe,
Australia,
let me know
100%.
here, and I'll be keen. And if we do get my hands in the durian, we're gonna film it, Lawson, and share it in our Faith FM social media. And
We
I
are
will
not.
describe.
You can eat it outside. We're not opening it
No,
in the
in the
studio.
studio.
No way,
Live.
dude. It'll seep into
With
the
you here.
walls, bro. It'll seep into the walls. Nah, no way, no way. Hey, oh, good stuff. Shout out Durian. Shout out all my Asian brothers and sisters who are into it. Unfortunately, I'm not like you. Hey, you're listening to The Breakfast Show. Let's jump into Joshua now and finishing off. So we've just had a chat about Hebrews, kind of recapping what we were talking about yesterday, particularly in this idea of how it's Jesus becomes that fulfillment of this Joshua archetype because he leads us to a true rest in a truly peaceful land, right? Joshua led them to a partial rest in a partially peaceful land. Joshua leads us to true rest. But I like what you picked up on towards the end of our conversation in our last segment because you're like, oh, but what it took to get there was war, right? Like war and you know.
the promised land, you mean?
That's right.
Mhm, yeah.
So there was a war on the way, and we're kind of living in a little bit of wartime right now, at least spiritually, and
Oh,
also, you know, I
100%.
mean, there's heaps of actual wars happening in the world.
Yeah.
But we are looking forward to a land to come.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
But hey, we were having a chat about how, you know, there was unrest and war that then led to eventual peace in the promised land as Joshua was leading them. Jesus is also leading us through unrest and war, then into a promised land.
Yeah.
So the question is for us, how can we fulfill, as we're living in the quote unquote wartime, how can we fulfill, you know, what lessons can we learn from the Joshua experience? I've got a bunch of Bible verses here that I think reflect that well
Let's
from
look-
the New Testament.
look into them.
So 1 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 18, the Bible says here,
What, sorry?
1 Timothy chapter
Timothy.
1 and verse 18. I can read this one. You can jump into 2 Timothy if you like. 4:7. We'll get to that one afterwards. But it says, "This charge I commit to you, son Timothy, according to the prophecies previously made concerning you, that by them you may wage the good warfare."
Let's just pause here. Like, how cool is that Timothy had prophecies concerning him?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, God was communicating to Paul and others that, hey, this guy Timothy, he's super legit. Put him on the team. You know, hey, these difficulties will befall him. Warn him. You know, hey, these good things are going to happen. Like these kinds of things. And he says, hey, look, according to the prophecies concerning you, basically your calling to your ministry that has come through prophetic form to me and to others, you may wage the good warfare. Wage the good warfare.
Yeah, fight the good fight.
The good fight. Go and fight well. Because Timothy here, a young pastor of the church there, and I believe it's Ephesus is where Timothy is leading when the book of 1 Timothy is written. And the advice that Paul's giving here is, hey, look, you are going to come up to, you know, difficulties, strife, and conflict. Keep fighting. Keep standing for God. You know, flipping over here to 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 7, the Bible says, now this is Paul talking to Timothy again and saying, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race and I have kept the faith. And so there's an encouragement in the first letter, hey, keep fighting the good fight. And in the second letter, it's Paul saying, hey, as I've encouraged you to fight the good fight, just I want to let you know, I'm coming to the end of my life.
I followed by my own advice.
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't give up.
That's right. I love how you said that. I followed my own advice, essentially, Timothy. You know, Paul it's likely that 2 Timothy is probably one of the final books. Like, we know that there is a number of different books that were written from Paul in chains, but 2 Timothy is considered by many to be like
the last one
before he
almost
would
like
die.
The farewell letter.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he's saying at the end here, that thing that I called you to do, I've done it.
Because Paul was in home prison. He was, for
it's in house
house arrest for about 2 years or so, until he was finally executed by Emperor Nero.
Yeah. And I mean, he's spending his time in house arrest, like trying to win people to Jesus.
Yeah.
Paul, being a generally good citizen, this is kind of how it went for him wherever he was. That he,
I think he was a great citizen.
Yeah. Oh,
Not generally, I think 100%.
100%.
But he was a citizen of the kingdom of heaven first.
That's right. But
And
generally,
it's not just disregarding laws for the sake of disregarding them because he didn't like them.
100%.
The only laws he didn't obey were the ones that are
Contrary to.
Yes, in like direct opposition with God's commands. Because then, like, what do you do?
That's right. Essentially, the point that I'm trying to make is that he would always, in these situations, similar to like the Joseph story, he'd always be granted freedoms, certain freedoms in if he had a prolonged period of persecution or prosecution, he would be granted certain freedoms and, you know, certain privileges because he was just a good guy, and also through the spreading of the gospel. And we see him like rock up to Rome, get put on house arrest. The first thing he does is like try to share the gospel with people, you know, try and share with the Jews that are there. And then he would have continued that work all the way up until, you know, his court date came and he died before Nero. We then see in Ephesians, again, another book written by Paul here, speaking of the warfare that we fight against Satan. He says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in his power and his might. Put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the wiles or the arrows of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against the spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly age. Now, what do you think, Skafy, is like the similarities and maybe the differences between, you know, the war that we're called to wage here in this particular passage and how we're supposed to prepare for it versus, you know, what Joshua was doing? What can you see here in terms of some application, some similarities between Joshua, their war into the promised land, and our war into the promised land today?
Yes, look, I think that one similarity is the way that God intended Israel to fight their battles.
Yes.
Was that there was supposed to be minimal to actually no effort on the part of the Israelites.
Sure.
And by effort, I mean like war effort, not effort in general. But because it's kind of like what happened to Jericho. You just circle around, blow the trumpet, the city will fall down. Or like what happened to Gideon. Yeah, just blow the trumpets. The enemies are going to fight with themselves and destroy themselves. The book of Deuteronomy, God says, look, I'm going to fight for you, even if I have to send hornets ahead of you.
Yeah.
So in the same way, we need to realize that our battles, they are also fought by the Lord.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting thing because I think it's a very unpopular topic in a lot of ways. And it's a difficult topic because some people interpret that if I say, hey, look, let the Lord fight your battles for you. Some people can interpret that as saying, hey, just don't do anything. Be passive about it. Don't do your part and just like cross your arms and sit down and God's going to do everything for you, including the things that you can do for yourself, which is not what I'm saying.
That's not the biblical advice.
No, there is an element of effort. But the other element, there's another element to that as well, which is the other extreme. Say, I'm going to do everything by my own will, by my own power.
Sure.
And by my own strength. And that's also a mistake. How do you reconcile the two?
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
And Lawson, I'm asking you a question today.
What's up?
How do I find that balance of God fighting for us in the balance between me not doing anything, just sitting down there passive, as a lot of people would say, versus me doing everything and relying and depending on my own, self-reliance and power and will and cleverness. So how do I find the balance between these two things? Or is there a balance?
Yeah, I would say there definitely is. You know, an illustration that kind of lays things out for me a little bit easier that I usually say is, I say it like this: it is not complex. You know, it's not a complex. If there was like a massive boulder in the middle of the room, it's not necessarily a complex task, right? Mm-hmm. But it's very, very difficult, right? It takes like a lot of personal effort. Now, the thing is that it could actually be too much for us. Like, let's say that boulder is just like physically too heavy. Then it starts to add layers of complexity, because then you think, oh, maybe there's some kind of system that I could build, like a mechanism, and you know, then I can do this. And I think this is where God really, really steps in, is in all of these areas, particularly I think of like complexity, direction, vision, and even in, you know, physical or mental effort and strain as well. Like, firstly, God is wanting you to give your all, but he's wanting to come in. He's like, kind of like, again, if we had a big boulder in the middle of the room here, God is kind of coming in like the forklift, you know? And he's saying, hey, I want you to participate. I want you to use your effort and you might, but do so, like, sit in the forklift and drive the forklift forward and pull the lever and, you know, like.
Yes, yeah, I like it. Yeah.
Right. So God is the one that's actually creating the solutions and creating the direction,
I love
giving
that
the
illustration.
vision.
Very cool.
But we get to be a part of that in doing our part. Now, again, we could say, oh, God, isn't it your job? You operate the forklift, right? Like let's say in this, you know, in this particular scenario, like God himself is the forklift, right? And it's like, oh, why don't God, you just do it? And it's like, no. How this works is that the way that this is designed is that you're a part of it, right? And so we could say that, or on the other side, we'd say, I don't need your forklift, God. I'm just going to go to the gym for the next 7 weeks, and then I'll be able to do it. And then, you know, you still can't do it. So that balance is like, again, in this illustration that I'm sharing, is that God is wanting to come in as an agent that helps in areas of personal effort, in areas of you know, in the various places of, you know, making the planning, and what God is wanting to be there, a part of it, but he's not excluding our effort. Yeah. And in fact, it makes us better and more efficient, because then instead of spending your time trying to lift a heavy boulder, like, you can spend just as much time driving the forklift and you can lift 1,000 rocks. Yeah. You know, so it's yeah, this is the way that I think about it in an illustration.
I really like this. Is a great
illustrative
illustration
kind of thing.
It's a really great illustration. Look, the way that I would say it is that you pray as if everything depended on God, and then you act as if everything depended on you.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then God will find the different ways, as you said. Now, sometimes he will make you stronger. Sometimes he'll bring a forklift. Sometimes he'll bring a person that knows how to drive it. Sometimes he's just going to realize, hey, you know what? Just leave the boulder here. It's not an issue.
Yeah.
You know, it will give a different perspective. Mm-hmm. God will do something about it, but we have to pray first as if everything depends on him and believe in that. And then after that, then it's okay, God, what can I do from my part here? Yeah. And as you'll see, normally God ends up doing like 99.9% of the work, and he only does the part that we can do. It ends up being really 0.1%.
Really minimal. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we need an answer to the quiz question.
In Malachi 4, God promised that the coming prophet would turn the hearts of the fathers to their children and vice versa.
Yeah.
What do you think about this quiz answer?
Yeah, my interpretation, like one of my interpretations that you can make it in the Bible, we won't have the time to kind of go into it, but the fathers and the children can be, you can interpret that, or you can make an allegory, or an application of that. The fathers being the Old Testament. This is one layer of it, right? Not the only one. But the fathers being the Old Testament, the children being the New Testament. So one of the things that the messenger will do, he's going to reconcile the children, or the children of the New Testament, with the Old Testament, and the Old Testament with the New Testament, meaning will help the Jews recognize who Jesus is, and also help the Christians to recognize and to value the Old Testament and the law of Moses. And I think this is one of the rules of the remnant. Yeah. What about you, Lawson? What do you think about this one?
Yeah, absolutely. The fathers and the sons, you know.
There's a family there element for sure.
Absolutely.
You know?
I think it'll just be, God will be working through various and diverse people. Like, this is another element that I'm kind of bringing into it. You know, turning the fathers to the sons to the fathers. Like, this is culturally, like Malachi is writing to a Israelite Jewish context. Culturally, like, you know, the son having any say over the father usually isn't the way that things go. It's usually the father having a say over the son. And there's usually more of a unilateral kind of relationship there of decisions and direction. And
but
vision.
you still need to reconcile, because sometimes you can have a lot of bitterness, right? Like,
That's right.
As you had like in the story of the prodigal son.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what it's saying is that, hey, from both sides, like God will be working through both groups of people, the old, the young, they will be, and that's a beautiful thing, is that there will be this reconciliation and even this equality of standing before God, because God is doing a work through all.
The Jews, the Gentiles, reconciling the two. Very good.
Absolutely.
And speaking of interesting and perplex passages, Lawson, what is the resource that we are giving away today? And it's actually the very last moments, if you would like to get one, listening friend.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to send through the code word #difficult to 0491064669. We want to give this one to you for free. So just send through the code word #difficult to receive answers to difficult Bible texts. Now, hey, if you ever read something in the Bible that makes you question everything, well, this is the book for you. Again, #difficult. Send it through 0491 064 669. I got a text on the text line here from Elysian. She says, there will be lots of beautiful fruit in heaven, but I hope Durian won't be there. like imagine Durian, you know, stinking up the New Jerusalem. That'd be pretty wild. But hey, I love it. Look, we have had a great day today, and we hope you have a great weekend. Spend time with people, spend time in church, spend time worshiping God. We have more amazing programming coming after this, so stay tuned. And remember to talk faith, to live faith, and to act faith, and you'll grow strong in Jesus Christ.
God be with you till we meet again. Be with you till we meet again. By his counsel's guide uphold you, with the sheep securely fold you. God be with you till we meet again. Until we meet again at Jesus' feet again. God be with you till we meet again.
Thanks for being a part of the Faith FM family. Join our community on Facebook or get in touch at 1-800-FAITH-FM.